Hi and welcome to SCW, the wrestling channel here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comment section. Please like and share the video as well. Almost at 450 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Please like and share with a friend as well. Spread the word of SCW as more videos is brought to you. Inside today, it's very windy outside, so I don't want it to affect the audio so much. So I decided to come inside today for you rather than giving the beautiful scenery behind me. So apologies for that, but hopefully the wind will calm down for the next time I do one of these videos where you see me face to face. But anyway, it's AskSCW and I'm taking your questions from Twitter.com today. If you want to, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You've got to see on your screen right now where you can follow me. And you can just put the hashtag AskSCW if you want to add a question for the next week's show, and I will answer it for you and give you a shout out as well. Well, without further ado, we're going to go to the first question this week, which is going to come from Straight Edge Josh. And of course, we have to address it. I was going to address it anyway, but we've got a question on it, so I can address it through here. Of course, the Speaking Out movement, of course. With that going on, do I think that WWE and other companies will do mass releases on the accused and confirmed names? So for people that are not up to speed with what's been going on, we've had a lot of females come forward in the last few days, sort of, addressing some of dark situations they've been put in, accusing names, if you want, of whether it's been sexual harassment or whether it's been, some sorts of abuse. And yeah, there's been lots of speaking out, and it's happened where a lot of names that perhaps you wouldn't have suspected of being capable of those sort of things have been accused of that. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where I don't want to talk about names because we still don't fully know what side of know with a lot of the cases, whether they are confirmed cases where they're guilty or not. But what I was saying is what I did say on Twitter, which is I stand by if someone is guilty, this is something that shouldn't be tolerated and they should be made an example of and they should be released from their contracts. And I would expect the companies to release those talents. I would expect it, but we'll have to wait and see because at this particular moment, we don't know which ones are definitely guilty and which ones are not. But I do say that that those people, they will lose support from a lot of people, myself included, will not be supporting those people that are guilty. It shouldn't be accepted nor tolerated, and yeah, I do think that they should be released should a lot of these cases prove to be guilty. But a lot of it seems to be in the UK wrestling scene, which is a shame as well. But there has been names, of course, through the United States and from other places as well. And, for those women that have been speaking out, they have full support of everyone from SCW and, of course, throughout a lot of the wrestling community. It's been good to see that such positive steps have been taken from the fans who are on their side and want people to continue to speak out because this stuff is horrible, it's dark, but it shouldn't be tolerated, and fingers crossed going forward that this stuff won't be an issue. We need to see change, and hopefully through the Speaking Out movement that we get, change is what we're going to get. Moving on to the rest of the questions now, and we're going to start with Mike, Italian Habs Mike, and what a great question here from Bray Wyatt. Of course, he showed up this week with the old gimmick on SmackDown. Will this be a short-term thing, or will this be like Mick Foley, where we don't know which Wyatt will show up? If done right, this can be very successful. I love the twist that's been put on this question. Thank you, Mike. I didn't even think of it as like this when I saw this happen. I initially thought, and this is what I predict will happen, but I really hope what you suggested is something that can happen because I think that coming back is a short-term thing at this particular moment. I believe that Bray Wyatt coming back in this form of character is the next step of the story, and I think that this is a way to drag this further till SummerSlam, and it gives these guys a lengthy feud where it kind of works. We've had Bray Wyatt, we now have the old, Eater of Worlds, Follow the Buzzards, Bray Wyatt that we've got, the cult leader, and perhaps when this Bray Wyatt is unsuccessful, then he goes to the Fiend and brings the Fiend for SummerSlam. So that's what I expect to happen, but I love your theory of what we could get of almost like the three faces of Wyatt, like we had with Mick Foley back in the day. I want a Royal Rumble of all of those Wyatt characters. That's what I want at some point in the future, but we'll have to wait and see how it's going to play out. But I agree with you, if that is done tastefully, you could bring any Wyatt and you don't know which one's going to show up, it could really throw a different dynamic to this character. The belief as well going forward of what I've read internally on the dirt sheets is that we can expect another cinematic match going into the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, which I'm really hyped about. Something with this has really made me back into this storyline, because when we first got Wyatt and Braun Strowman, I was kind of feeling that was too soon, should be safe for SummerSlam. I felt it was a bit weak with just Bray Wyatt, the character of Bray Wyatt. Now we've got this, it's taken to a whole new element, because we just thought, the predictable Fiend is going to come in at this point. But now we've got this, it's such a big twist. There's rumours we could get a new Wyatt family. I'm not so convinced at this stage that that's exactly what we're going to get, but it would be interesting. I'd love to see someone like Bo Dallas brought in, because Bo is naturally the brother of Bray, and it would be great to use him in that kind of role. So in that way, I'd love to see a genuine twist of the blurred lines of reality of an actual family, but actually a new form of the Wyatt family. It would be really good, because then you could integrate that character into the Firefly Funhouse at a different role later in time. He doesn't have to necessarily just be someone that's involved with this stage. It could be someone that can build that new stable for Bray Wyatt, maybe that new following in the Fireflies. And that would be interesting to see as well. So there's lots of different dynamics you go down with this. With the 3 different characters, if you can keep it where it's interesting, I would be happy to see all 3 come in at what points they're needed to. It kind of almost feels in a way that it's refreshing to see Bray Wyatt take a step back to that character that we were desperate for him to get away for just, shy of like a year to 18 months ago. So it's really great to see this come in. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I love your concept, and I really hope that they do that. But if I had to predict right now, I do feel it's a short-term thing, and it's suitable as well because it's Braun Strowman. They were together within that stable, so it kind of works for that. But we'll have to wait and see how it's going to play out. But for me, what I would say is at this particular moment, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it, and I want to see what happens next. I think we've got a good feud lined up here, and it also makes me hyped for Extreme Rules, which is something I wasn't overly after Backlash. So this thing has really picked my mood up when it comes to WWE at the moment. So long may it continue, and let's hope we get something positive out of these 2 continuing to feud as we move into Extreme Rules and possibly even to SummerSlam. Just thinking, actually, before I move to the next question, I mean, I don't know the situation with the contract expiries, but maybe they still can bring Rowan back between now and Extreme Rules. Maybe there's an opportunity where Rowan can still be part of the Wyatt family because he's on the 90 days, and maybe he might re-sign. We never know. So there is a chance that Roman's days in WWE for the minute aren't finished. So this would be interesting. Maybe we can get a match on SmackDown, maybe something like that. So there's a few different twists and elements. Of course, we know Luke Harper's not a potential to come back for the Wyatt family, but if there was to do something like that, it would be kind of an interesting twist. So yeah, I just thought I'd add that last little bit in before I moved on to the next question, because when I first was talking about this, Roman didn't even occur to me. So just as I think about it, I thought I'd better add it in. So there you go. Maybe Roman, maybe Bo Dallas, maybe together they can help make a new Wyatt family. We'll have to wait and see if that will happen. Like I say, I'm not sure if they will go down that road completely, but never say never. Next question is coming from Carmine Rocco. If there was ever an invasion storyline in 2020, what main event would you set up for a WWE versus AEW match, and who would you have go over? What a question. I just love the idea. I mean, to be fair, you're probably going to throw me under the bus by me giving an answer here, because we've got people clearly one side or the other here. But could you imagine if really we could have these dream match scenarios where we could have WWE versus AEW? There are some matches already you could throw together that would be really exciting. An invasion angle is always interesting as well. We've had so many over the last number of years, and I think it always depends on which territory we're going to go in. Is WWE invading AEW, or is AEW invading WWE? It's an interesting twist and an interesting concept. It's something that could really play well. For me, I'm going to always say here that looking at the past, and with WWE being the bigger brand, if you want, at this stage, because they've been around with the history and everything like that, it would make more sense for the new brand to come in and create dominance and to win. Because if WWE was to win on show 1 over AEW, a lot of people would just immediately dismiss it, I feel. So for me, I want to see the underdog take the lead here. So for me, I'd want AEW to come out as the victor of the opening show, and if it's done right, if you look like with NWO and WCW experience, they did that right because NWO came in and was dominant for a long time, and it took a while for WCW to really get that stranglehold back on the company, and that's what made that storyline work for so long. When we've seen it with other ones like the invasion angle with WWE and WCW, well, WCW won the first show, yeah, but they were booked weak for the rest of the time, and it just didn't really match up. Didn't have the big stars, didn't have the big names. And as well, Impact Wrestling did it as well with the Global Force Wrestling. Was done terribly. It could have been really a big storyline, and they just didn't make it work out. So for me, AEW would have to go over. But there are a number of matches you could make as your main event. I have a couple in mind. As a purist, I'd love AJ Styles versus Kenny Omega, just because I'm a purist. But if you look at where they are in the card right now, that isn't the main event that you would necessarily make. You could always make maybe like the Fiend Bray Wyatt against the leader of the Dark Order in Brody Lee, and also their history together anyway as part of the Wyatt family, which we already touched on the Wyatt family in this video already. But the match I would go with is, Chris Jericho is the former guy from WWE who now represents AEW. He's got his stable of the Inner Circle, so he's got his good backup as well. And I think that would play a really nice twist and dynamic of a storyline, and it would capture the main event. And, with AEW, that kind of has been the motto for Chris Jericho. He was the one to put them on the map and help them put them on the map as an established name. So he would be my representative for AEW. Drew McIntyre would be my representative for WWE because he's current WWE champion. He's the guy right now. It's a fresh matchup as well with them two. I don't really remember seeing them two against one another. So I think that would be the match I'd put together. And like I say, with the Inner Circle's help, it makes a kind of way where you could make it, if you want AEW to be the heels, it kind of works into this dynamic, and Jericho could go over. It would establish Jericho as obviously one of the greatest of all time. And yeah, I think that would work quite well into an opening part of the story. But yeah, I mean, it's all fancy booking, but yeah, I love a good invasion angle. And if you'd let me, I could talk for hours on it. But as a main event, that's what I would go with. And I would have AEW going over at the first part because even if they were to win at the ultimate end, you want the underdog to really get in that first story there. AEW at this point would need the momentum of the most of the two companies. So that was the way you'd have to book it. So yeah, that's how I would go if I was booking that invasion angle in 2020. And let's be fair, 2020 has been a mad year. I don't see this kind of happening, but hey, we've seen some things we didn't think we'd see this year already. Austin Whitley with the next question here. It's 1998, we're getting in that time machine, and Sting jumps to WWF. How would you book him for that first year? What a question. I love this. I love a bit of fantasy booking, but we're not just fantasy booking of the now, we're going back in time. And it's a great question, so thank you, Austin, for this one. 1998, so let's go back to storytelling a little bit. I mean, my dream match is The Undertaker. There's no way of getting around it. That is the match that would say stick it to WCW as well. But if we look at what point we're going to bring Sting in 1998, I mean, The Undertaker was taking on Kane at WrestleMania, so I wouldn't have interrupted that feud. I would have kept things exactly the same. Perhaps if Sting is going to come in, maybe he's almost aligned with Vince McMahon coming in, so maybe he comes in as a heel because of the fact he is a part of the enemy, almost kind of like what we got with the NWO. Maybe we can have Austin and Sting to start off with, and as Undertaker turns heel, maybe we get to a point where if Sting fails at that point, Vince realizes that he's not really got a good guy, kind of similar to what we got with Paul White, the Big Show, and Sting goes face, and along the same time we've got Mankind doing the same thing. So we've got those matches where we've got the elements there where Sting can have a long, lengthy feud with Kane and the Undertaker as the Brothers of Destruction are kind of together for that first time going into the winter. We've got the likes of with the Deadly Games, with The Rock and Mankind continue with the belts, and we can move on to WrestleMania. And instead of having the Big Boss Man in the Hell in a Cell, we can have Sting versus The Undertaker. So that would be my first year of booking of Sting if I was to do it, because I think that's the dream match that we just never got. And I have seen it reported this week that some believe that it wouldn't be the match that people wouldn't. The expectation is just too big. I mean, you can just imagine the story writes itself with Sting and The Undertaker. Sting in the rafters at that point they had where the superstars were higher up in the arenas, and Sting just being up at that sort of top area, just looking down on Undertaker matches, Undertaker sort of, looking up, and the promo work between the two, just the Crow, the Undertaker, the whole thing, it just magic. I don't know, the thing just writes itself, and I just would have loved to have seen it, and I think it's a shame we never got to see it within wrestling history. But I'd like to know what you would like to do. If you were in control of it, and if anyone else was in control of it, let me know in the comments below. What would you do? Sting joined the WWF in 1990. How would you book him? Would you book him the same as me, or would you do it differently? Let me know in the comments right now. TNA Cross the Line podcast here of our next question now. Current favourite wrestler, and who do you think is most underrated? Two great questions there for us, and I have to start then with my current favourite wrestler, and it's none other than the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. As the last ride actually explained in episode 5, with The Undertaker and both him and Steve Austin saying that AJ Styles is the best wrestler with 2 feet going today. I happen to agree. I think you're guaranteed a 5-star match, whatever the circumstance with AJ. He can get the best out of superstars that perhaps don't put on as strong of matches, and you know, he's just, I don't know, he feels like the guy. I've always felt a hype with AJ Styles, even before I saw him wrestle, whether it was those early TNA days where I didn't see so much of him at that point, to when I finally got to watch, TNA Impact and saw these phenomenal matches with Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, to see where he then went to do some great work in Ring of Honor and New Japan as well. The match with Shinsuke Nakamura, as I was saying in a previous episode, just blew me away at Wrestle Kingdom. To now see him come in WWE, and not just come in WWE, but have the success story he's had over the last few years. For me, I just look at it and feel that AJ Styles is the all-rounder, and his promo work is just improving so much as well. We were talking with The Undertaker in the last ride, that program with The Undertaker, I mean, that heel work that he had going with his promo work, for me, was just sublime. So for me right now, AJ Styles for me is just the all-rounder, and is my current favourite wrestler. As for underrated, Cesaro has to be shouted out here. How Cesaro is not a multi-time world champion is beyond me. Yeah, perhaps he's not the strongest promo, but I liked his work on SmackDown this past week. It looked like he took himself very seriously. Him and Shinsuke Nakamura. You know, why am I not booked in a tag team match? Why are we not we beat the New Day? Why are we not even mentioned? It's not even, it wasn't even relevant on the show till they came out. And I love the way that was portrayed. And I just feel with Cesaro, he's just special in the ring. He does things people can't do. He can speak multiple different languages. The guy is just, there's talent there, and it's just finding a way of making this guy a main eventer. With the hardcore demographic of fans, we're massively behind him, but it's just finding that way where WWE can push him to the casual fans as a megastar. And I don't know what it's going to be to do that, but Cesaro, he has everything there. It just needs something to click, and I don't know what that click's going to be, but when it comes that one day, we're going to really have someone on our hands here that could go towards the top of the card. Maybe he needs that manager. Maybe the Heyman guy was too soon back in 2014. Maybe it would work now. Maybe he needs someone else as a manager. Maybe that would work as well. Just that bit of direction. Who knows? But for me, Cesaro would be that guy. Another one I'd mention, which is kind of a weird one to say with when we say underrated, but Kevin Owens. You look and say he's never really recovered from that time when he lost to Goldberg for the Universal Championship in like 3 or 4 years ago now. And you just think to yourself, well, I mean, this guy should as well be a multi-time world champion. He seems to have gotten himself where he's flirting towards getting towards that upper mid-card, towards the main event, and then the momentum just disappears again. It's very strange how that dynamic happens. So for me, he kind of comes under the underrated category, because for me, again, promo, he is amazing at a promo. He's great in ring, and he's got a different look and something that stands out. And I just feel that with me, I just feel, again, there's just things like something to click one day, and Kevin Owens will be a megastar. But as your TNA Cross the Line podcast, I want to give a bit of impact as well, just to give my thought process. Favourite right now will be Ethan Page. I think him and a part of, Josh Alexander of the North, I think they're fantastic what they do as a tag team outfit. I think they're awesome. And I go back to look at, they did a Thanksgiving episode, kind of like a throwback NWA style show where Ethan Page was kind of like this cocky heel, kind of like a Ric Flair kind of character, kind of like almost like The Rock back in his corporation days. And I just kind of felt it suited with Ethan Page, that he looks like he's someone who could be a cocky main eventer. I'd love to see that at some point. So really, he kind of goes with the underrated as well. I think he's got a lot to give, and he currently is a favourite of mine in Impact Wrestling. And I usually like a good underdog story. So with these underrated guys, usually they're the people I get behind. So for me, on the TNA standpoint, on Impact standpoint, I'd go with Ethan Page. But for overall, I will go with AJ Styles, and I'll go with Cesaro. And, well, Kevin Owens deserves a shout as well. Thai World Order, speaking of Impact Wrestling, we're going to be having now a question or two now with Thai World Order. Starting off with Rhino goring the crap out of Rohit Raju, and he did, by the way, to pick up his win this week. Where does Impact go here with Rohit? He's lost his stablemates, cut some fire promos, and now keeps losing match after match. How do we book a decent run for here for Rohit? Well, I have to agree. I was so disappointed when he lost. He had that promo when he was brought into the Impact Championship tournament. And I thought, do you know what? I really believed in him. I felt something at that point. There was something that connected with that promo. And then to see him lose the tray, I was so disappointed. And now he's gone on, he's lost to Rhino. Where does it go from here? You almost feel like the booking of the storyline for him right here is perhaps redemption in this point. He feels he's been overlooked, maybe loss after loss. Something's going to click and something needs to snap. Where it comes, I'm not so sure, but that feels like that would be the direction of where the storyline will be going. I look with Rohit, and I think that he has got X Division champion, potential written all over him. I'm not so sure about world champion at this point, especially with the loss after loss. But I would kind of like to see the program with Rhino continue. With the people coming in from WWE with the release superstars, it was teased last week that we were going to get Rhino and Heath Slater perhaps as a team once again. I would love if Rohit was maybe to, at the moment perhaps help himself in the tag team division. What if Heath Slater was to come in and turn on Rhino and be with Rohit, and both seem as them they've been overlooked for so long? It's almost like a common goal that these guys both feel like that they should be in the spotlight, they should have the attention on them, and why have they been stuck so long not doing something meaningful? And maybe that way it can just strengthen the tag team division a little bit, because in my opinion, I think that's where Impact at the moment is probably at its weakest, is the tag division. They've got a number of tag teams, but just not one that really stands out. And while you could turn around and say, well, Rohit has just been involved with the Desi Hit Squad, what makes this tag team, going to make it do relevance for the career? When you look and say, well, hang on, this is somewhere where these guys want to get noticed. I mean, Heath Slater should, if he comes in, have a chip on his shoulder. Rohit seems to have that chip, and if they can just find something that clicks and works together, maybe they help each other in singles action, maybe they help each other in tag team action, and maybe together they can help both one another get up the card, where eventually 6 months, a year from now, you can make a big feud in Impact Wrestling, and that would lead to one of them going for a major singles title. So that's what I would do if I had to do a storyline right now for Rohit Raju, because I think there's a lot of potential there. This guy is definitely someone that could be over and could be someone that we fully recognise and Impact as one of their main players. He just needs to get the right path to get there. But the promo work really started off strong from there, and I want to see now continue to a great storyline to where we can see him progress within Impact Wrestling. Our second instalment from Tie World Order this week. And thoughts on this? Who have you got? Who are going to be Crazy Steve's tag team partners here this week coming up on Impact Wrestling against Cancel Culture? Well, Ty believes here we've got perhaps a new face. We could have an old face, maybe a TNA original. How about Chris Sabin? I feel we'll get a return before Slammiversary. Well, looking into this, I think it's fantastic that we've got a concept of mystery. We have two, though, in the same show. I mean, Johnny Swinger has got a mystery one as well. And I really thought that was very comical this past week on Impact, by the way, where he's calling up and saying, wait, you're getting paid for 90 days. You ain't got to do nothing. Daddy, you stay at home. You haven't got to worry about coming just yet. I'll find someone else. And he reckons he's going to find someone else. I think that that Swinger is going to actually bring Simon Diamond actually in. But so I reckon that's perhaps an old face, or maybe not a legend, but maybe someone that he's got history with, and it could be obviously very comical from the Swinger side of things. Crazy Steve feels like we're going to have something a bit more serious going on, and looking at it, there's a lot of different twists we could have. I pray and I wish we could have Decay. That would be the ultimate, but of course Abyss is on Pastors New. He's part of WWE and their production crew. Don't see him coming in for the one-off show here. Rosemary as well. I mean, it's not intergender. I know Impact does intergender matches, but I don't think they would do that at this point. I really feel that Chris Sabin would be quite cool if he was to come back with TNA Originals. I think that would be really nice. But when we look at the cancel culture, I think they're going to have people that are going to be against them, and maybe someone that's a bit more brass, shall we say, something that's going to stand out a bit more. I'm first off going to say that I think that we're going to get Dave Christ, actually, because of the fact that Jake turned on him. So I think he's a potential that could come in. Chris Sabin would be awesome to see. I wonder if someone like Eddie Edwards would be pretty awesome just for this tag team match. I mean, it's a one-off, and he's someone that's a bit crazy as well, someone with a kendo stick, someone along that line. But I'd love a return like you suggested there. A return would be pretty cool. Chris Sabin would be awesome. Maybe Alex Shelley. Maybe the Motor City Machine Guns could come back as a duo. That would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? One of the best tag teams in Impact Wrestling history. It would be awesome to have them back. But whoever comes in, Crazy Steve, I imagine something's going to be a bit dark, a bit mysterious, a bit crazy. We'll have to wait and see how it's going to pan out. I'm not so sure with this one, but I think maybe Dave Christ would be one that I'd throw in there. The other one, I'm not so sure, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to turn out. Next question coming from Noob Co. Do you think Heyman's firing will have a negative effect on Asuka's current push? Question 2 will be, will Charlotte win the Raw Women's title this coming Monday, or is it too soon for Asuka to drop the title? And question 3, who will win the NXT North American title and face Adam Cole? A triple threat of questions there. And going to start off with the Heyman Family and Asuka. From what I understand, and Wrestle Talk broke this news exclusively, they suggested that WWE are not looking to drop Asuka's push. That she is safe. She's not someone that's going to be on a negative downward spiral now that Paul Heyman is gone. So I think that one covers it pretty quickly, but we'll see as TV progresses. But I'd like to think that Vince is a fan. We've seen that Vince is a fan. I would like to think that Asuka will be fine. As for Raw this week, well, Nia Jax is sort of still in the picture. Is she suspended? Is she not? I know they're going to do an inquest into that. I personally feel that if Asuka is to drop the belt, it should be on pay-per-view. I don't think it should be on Raw. I understand they want to bring the ratings up. Maybe that's a way to do it, a title change, but it's not the way I'd have it go down. But as I said last week, at this particular moment, if they're going to integrate things like that, I think Asuka should get her win over Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam. I've said it previously. I say it again. And in that case, I think that I expect they are going to have Charlotte win the Raw Women's Championship between that time. I'm not a fan of the idea. I'm a fan of Charlotte Flair, but I feel that even though she gets the one-upsmanship on Asuka at this point, I do feel that it would just bring a lot of negativity and perhaps unwanted negativity back to Charlotte Flair. She's just following the creative decisions, but it doesn't do the girl any favours. So for me, I hope that it's like a no contest kind of result. But of course, people don't like screwy finishes either. But I hope it builds something towards the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And at this point, I would like to think it's going to be Asuka. I'd like to think Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax in a triple threat match. And we'll have to wait and see what will come from there. As for who's going to face Adam Cole, I would love it to be Keith Lee. It is his time, in my opinion, for him to become the NXT champion. And what a big way. If we can't bring Keith Lee to SmackDown, as I desperately have wanted for quite a while now, then perhaps him being a double champion in NXT is something that screams out something that I could be massively on board with. So for me, I'm going to put the prediction out that Keith Lee is the guy. But it'll be interesting to see what twist is going to be with Killer Cross as well, or I should say Karrion Kross, because obviously he is interested in being in the title picture as well. So he's not in the match, but will he take someone like Keith Lee out? Keith Lee destroyed the timer this past week, so maybe we are going to get a new North American champion, and that way we can see Lee versus Cross, and that way Lee gets to the picture somewhere down the line. But as to make a prediction right now, Keith Lee's my guy. I will not go past betting against Keith Lee. He needs to be the NXT champion in my opinion, and I want to see it as soon as possible. So Keith Lee to win the triple threat and face Adam Cole. Keeping on Adam Cole and obviously the double championship match that will be coming up. Dan the Man Williams here for us. Do you think Adam Cole will be a double champion? Well, it's certainly a possibility. I mean, let's say Keith Lee is, as my prediction, gets towards that championship match and Karrion Kross comes in and costs Keith Lee for destroying the timer and Adam Cole becomes the double champion. It's definitely something that is a possibility. I mean, Adam Cole has been the greatest NXT champion, in my opinion, of all time. He's had such a killer run going on in WWE and NXT right now. It wouldn't surprise me if they were to put the North American Championship on Adam Cole. Especially, I mean, we don't know what the rules are. Keith Lee may be someone that's been now put towards where he's going to go to the main roster. We all think maybe he's going towards the championship. Maybe he could be going towards the main roster, and this is their way of getting the North American Championship off of him to put him to, say, Raw or SmackDown. So there's lots of different variables that could happen. As I said in the last question, it's hard to know which direction they're definitely going to go, but as I say, I think Keith Lee will get there. I want to see Keith Lee win it all, but I wouldn't be surprised if Adam Cole has both belts, because, I mean, it's Adam Cole. There's a at this particular moment, I feel there's a no-lose situation with all the guys involved. Let's not even dismiss Balor or Gargano. If any of these guys had both of the belts, it's no loss situation for me. For Karrion Kross, it's a bit soon, but he's currently not involved with the triple threat match, but I'm sure he still has got aspirations of going for that main NXT championship. Wrestling Guy is with us on my next question. Who will be the first black AEW World Heavyweight Champion in your opinion? Great question. And obviously, we don't know if AEW will sign more talents as we go along. But looking at the current roster and looking at someone that was kind of getting a lot of momentum towards the end of last year, early in the AEW Dynamite days, was Scorpio Sky. I really think that this guy is the full athlete. He's good on the mic and he's good with the SCU kind of unit. But I think the guy has got potential to be a world champion. I really thought he was getting a lot of momentum. And that match with Chris Jericho, fans were on Sky's side. So for me, Scorpio Sky is the guy I think that could be that guy to be the first ever black AEW World Heavyweight Champion. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see the push given to Scorpio. He's been in the, he's a veteran. He's been around for like 15, 16 years. They've shown video packages on the guy as well, with his journey to where he got to Dynamite and to AEW. I think there's a great story with Scorpio Sky, and I think you've got a main eventer in the making. Perhaps the timing right now isn't quite right, but maybe as the year progresses and you continue to push Scorpio in the right direction, he could be a world champion potential. I'd like to see him. I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Scorpio Sky could be an AEW World Heavyweight Champion? If not, who else do you want to see? Who would you like to see as the first black AEW World Heavyweight Champion? Let me know in the comments right now. Broncos forever, our next question now. Any plan for the return of audience at shows? We'll have to wait and see with that one. I mean, it's always a case of wait and see. It's not the first time I had the question either. From the belief of what I've seen is that obviously with this pandemic, things are starting, the restrictions are loosening just a little bit. From reading reports, WWE would love to have fans for SummerSlam. I've even read reports that there could be suggestions WWE are willing to delay SummerSlam to even September if they believe that they can have fans in the arena. And we're not even talking to a full capacity, just to some capacity. But perhaps it will depend on the state as well. I believe Boston maybe is unlikely. Maybe WWE may move SummerSlam to a different venue where they can do it. There's lots of different variables. It's kind of a wait and see approach, and I wish I had a better answer for you on it. But it feels that things are starting to go in a different direction where maybe, just maybe, we could have some fans coming back. When you look at New Japan, they are going to be the first company to do it. They've got shows right now that are going through to July with a tournament right now. The tournament is going to be taking place where I believe for the most part it's empty arena. I believe their last shows, which will be Dominion, I believe that we're going to have 30% capacity in amongst the shows. So that actually probably is a better answer I can give you. That will be the first company that will be doing it. And it'll be interesting to see after that whether WWE, AEW or any other company will be following suit short after. Mark 13 with our next question for us now. Do you think Bailey and Sasha fear Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai? They are the team of NXT. Well, I do, so I don't see why they wouldn't. But in all seriousness, I mean, I'm a big fan of Dakota Kai. I think the heel turn has been really, really good up to the point. I loved what they did at the War Games. I love the pairing of her and Raquel. I love that NXT is making a lot of female tag teams. It does give an excuse for the women's tag team division to have a healthier future. And you look at it and say that maybe the likes of the Boss and Hug would be fearful. Raquel, she's strong. She's overpowering a lot of superstars. Dakota Kai, she's got that great technical, high-flying kind of style she wants to. She's got the great kick, the team kick. As a team, they really work. They've got a nice dynamic. And I was a bit fearful, because when we had the In Your House, they had a little bit of disconnect in that tag team match. I wondered if they were going to start building a breakup with those two. And I'm glad that they haven't. It looks like that all has been, patched up with them two, and they've continued forward on recent episodes of NXT TV. So I hope that remains the same. I think as a tag team championship match, it'd be great to see somewhere down the line. But I am still wondering whether Bailey and Sasha will be long-term tag team champions, purely because I think that they will build towards the Sasha and Bailey feud. But I'd love to see them. Wouldn't it be great to see an NXT tag team win the belts next, because then they could actually flirt with being on Raw and SmackDown. A great way of exposure to see if they get over, whether they should be called up to the arguably the main roster. I hate that term, but to call them up to Raw, SmackDown at a later date. I'm well on board with it. I think it'd be a great idea. So I think that would be interesting too. And I think Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, they would be fantastic as tag team champions. They would be, for me, they would be the top option of the tag teams that all, female duos that we've got currently in NXT. Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Nox had a great tag team match with Bailey and Sasha this week, but I do think Raquel and Dakota, they would be the pick if I was to from NXT to take those tag team championships. Next question comes from MetsFan884. Would you be okay with Lacey Evans versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania? Interesting question, this one. I think it comes down to booking. So at this particular stage, you would turn around and say that Sasha Banks, she has had a successful spell, Okay, sometimes have been a bit hit and miss in places, but she's been a multiple-time women's champion, two-time tag team champion. She would be kind of suitable for a WrestleMania match. Lacey Evans, on the other hand, she's been at a WrestleMania, but she's been in the six-pack sort of or five-pack challenge match they did in the end this past year. You kind of feel as a one-on-one, if this is going to be a showcase match, Lacey would need to have stronger booking at this point going forward, whether it's beating Bailey and becoming women's champion, maybe Sasha does it, maybe Lacey wins the Rumble. If things like that happen, it becomes more viable. At this particular stage, at this moment, if you were to say to me, WrestleMania next year, we've got time to book it, so yeah, I could be a fan of it if it's booked correctly, but at this particular moment, for me, it's a TV match or like a B pay-per-view level match. It's not quite WrestleMania level at this stage, but it's not to say in the future that it wouldn't be. So as I say, if you book a Royal Rumble winner with someone like Lacey, that would be a great way to just instantly elevate her to get her to that level. Sasha Banks, if she ends up turning on Bailey, wins the Women's Championship, has a lengthy run, there's a chance there you can make something, and maybe that could be a WrestleMania match for next year. Time will tell. I would be a fan. If it's booked well, I'd be a fan of it. I'm a big fan of both of their work. So it'll be interesting to see how and what will go on with the SmackDown Women's Division going forward as we go towards the rest of the year. Last question for this week, I'm guessing it's ICO Pod, or maybe it's Eco Pod, asking, how do you feel about Doink the Clown? Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of Doink back in the day. I was a young child when I was watching Doink the Clown back in the day. But I thought Doink as a heel really worked. I loved the eerie clown. WrestleMania 9 really stands out for me with the mirror image of the two Doinks at the same time. That was really kind of captivating at the time, and especially as a young viewer, that definitely garnered interest. And definitely the evil clown at sometimes was a bit eerie for me. We got the face run later on, which kind of worked as well. As I was saying, as a child when I was watching it, the family-friendly clown, Dink along as well. It kind of had a nice bit of flavour to it. So, I mean, Doink for me was a successful stint of WWE. We've seen many different cameos as well over the years of Doink coming back. The most recent wasn't the most successful with the Money in the Bank, when they did the corporate one in WWE headquarters, mainly because it didn't look like Doink and there wasn't really much explanation of why Doink was there. Not even really a reference of even commentary of any sorts. But no, I was a fan. I liked Doink over the years, and Doink brought some good moments to WWF. So I quite enjoyed his work. What was your favourite moment? Let me know in the comments below. Would love to know. But that's all from me this week anyway. If you've not already, please like, share and subscribe to SCW, near 450 subscribers. Latest video as well that's up is referring to my reaction of The Undertaker, of course announcing his retirement from WWF on an in-ring perspective, giving my reaction, my favourite moments of The Undertaker's career in a video, so go and check that out now. But please, AskSCW will be back next week. Leave the hashtag AskSCW. You know where to follow me. You can drop it in the comments of this particular video and I will answer your question next week. But that's all from me anyway. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time here on YouTube. This has been SCW. Take care. Have a good day.